Welcome to the video, guys. Now, it's no secret to any of you lot, or for that matter, most of the world, that China's bungling attempts to cover up the situation relating to the coronavirus at the start of the outbreak over there has caused many people in many nations to question them, and rightly so, including US President Donald Trump, some MPs over here, and various over in the EU, though to a lesser degree. But it now seems that Germany is calling out China for trying to solicit praise from them in relation to China's response to the coronavirus, obviously hoping to shift blame off the government in Beijing and onto someone else, with what Germany has labelled as propaganda, and rightly so. Now, obviously, as the headline states here, China has denied seeking virus praise from Germany, but we already have some evidence from a different article we'll look at in a minute that shows that is exactly what Beijing looks to be doing. Beijing denied Monday that it was soliciting praise for its handling of the coronavirus pandemic, following a report that Chinese representatives tried to earn kudos from German officials. China has faced criticism abroad, notably in the United States, over the outbreak that first emerged in the central city of Wuhan late last year. It has sent aid to European countries in recent weeks, a move seen as a charm offensive to deflect blame for the pandemic. And actually, it didn't send aid. It sold aid, if reports are to actually be believed. Italy sent them some PPE at the start of the outbreak over there, and China then returned it to Italy and made them pay for it, if reports are to be believed, like I said. Citing a confidential foreign ministry document, Germany's Die Welt newspaper reported Sunday that the senior officials and staff at German government ministries were invited to speak in positive terms about China's management of the coronavirus. The German Foreign Ministry recommended that all government departments reject such approaches, the newspaper added. A German intelligence source told Die Welt that Chinese officials are pushing an intensified information and propaganda policy with regard to the coronavirus, which is obviously no shock to anyone, and is also covered here with what looks like a Chinese state-sponsored billboard there in Belgrade, Serbia. China squelches science in latest coronavirus cover-up. Beijing is now censoring Chinese scientists' papers on the coronavirus, squelching research that exposes the Communist Party's brutal bungling as coronavirus grew into a pandemic. Fudan University and the China University of Geoscience in Wuhan had to delete online notices of forthcoming papers thanks to the crackdown, which requires pre-clearance by the central government. And here I actually forgot just to read this bit here. A man wearing a protective mask passes by a billboard depicting Chinese President Xi Jinping that reads, "Thanks brother Xi," in Belgrade, Serbia. Which I think you will agree is rather amazing, but would suggest that there is plenty of Chinese propaganda being pumped out in various nations, with, like I said, Germany rejecting that. And it would seem like a good idea for the UK government to do the same if China is trying to push their propaganda on us, or tries to do it in the future. Because we have this report here citing a survey that says Britain's furious at Beijing for coronavirus outbreak as they demand an end to trade with China, which is likely going a little bit far. I definitely think the reliance on China should be stopped, but ending trade with them altogether is not likely to happen and probably wouldn't be a good idea. There are going to be certain benefits to trading with China, but we need to remove the world's reliance on goods from there, that is for sure. China was the initial epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak, regardless of what the left-wing lunatics tried to say, but has since emerged from its lockdown after apparently containing the virus. The Express needs to put apparently there. We're only going on Chinese government figures here, who we all knew before this video could not be trusted. Although it has now contained the virus, apparently, the Chinese government has been criticised for its initial response to the contagion by some conservative MPs, as I said earlier. A recent UK poll conducted by Redfield and Wilton Strategies showed 55% of Britons believe the Chinese government was to blame for the coronavirus outbreak. Reacting to the poll, Express.co.uk readers expressed their fury at Beijing for allowing the virus to spread worldwide. David Painter said, "Whatever the decisions made at the outbreak of this terrible virus may now be criticised in hindsight. The whole situation the world faces can be laid at China's door. Yes, it can be laid at the Chinese government's door straight away. Because obviously they covered it up, pumping information to the World Health Organization that was clearly wrong, and of course the WHO need to be called out for their complete incompetence in this situation, as I did in a recent video. Carmine Monty said, all people who did not pay attention are partly to blame for their own troubles, but the main blame still lies with China. That I would have to agree with. Another person wrote, the virus started in China and China covered it up for as long as it could, which is obviously what the Chinese government were always going to do. In the meantime, they stopped all incoming flights, but did not stop outgoing flights. Within this period of time, the virus travelled to Europe, USA, and around the world, which is correct, but also lays it on the feet of the governments of each and every nation around the world for not locking down their countries. I said it I don't know how long ago, that the borders to this country should be locked down as soon as we heard about it. If we had done that, I'm pretty sure the situation would not be anywhere near as bad as it currently is. Now, we also have here saying, last week, a report from the Commons Foreign Affairs Committee called on the government to confront an alleged campaign of disinformation against China. In a new report, MPs have claimed China sought to cover up the outbreak's origin. Chair of the committee, Tom Tugendhat, told the Daily Telegraph that China had cost UK lives. Finally, people are starting to say it. Obviously, we've had this article saying about the people of Britain being pissed off and other nations refusing to go along with Chinese propaganda, while obviously we see some appear to be posting it around their country on billboards and who knows elsewhere. But it's about time chair of these committees and people in positions of power started calling out China for what has happened here. He added, the government has modelled their response to the coronavirus based on information from across the world. That is impossible to do if a country is misleading you. China's lies are costing British lives. Now, more than ever, Britain needs to think about resetting its relationship with China, which is obviously right and something I said about earlier. MPs highlighted how Dr. Li Wenlang was forced to confess to making false comments on the virus before his death from the contagion in February. Cabinet Secretary Michael Gove also insisted the information from China on the virus had not been clear. He said the first case of coronavirus in China was established in December last year, but it was also the case that some of the reporting from China was not clear about the scale, nature or infectiousness of this. China spent who knows how long trying to cover this up before eventually they had to release it to the world because they couldn't hide it anymore. Sir Ian Duncan Smith also said, as a result of Beijing's cover-up and delay, global health experts are convinced the rest of the world had insufficient time to prepare for the pandemic, which means the effect of the outbreak has most likely been worse. For too long now, nations have lamely kowtowed to China in a desperate hope of winning trade deals. But once we get clear of this terrible pandemic, it's imperative that we rethink that relationship and put it on a much more balanced and honest basis, which is something I said earlier. We shouldn't just end trade outright, but we should definitely revise it and take a look at bringing a hell of a lot of it back here. But hopefully now everyone's starting to wisen up to what China has been up to and, like Germany, continue to deny their propaganda campaigns and, for the UK itself, call out China whenever we get the opportunity, as this shit show is literally the Chinese government's fault. Now, before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now, as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.